What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and a bit of an update. I normally don't do follow-ups that often, just simply because people get bored with stuff, but this is a pretty interesting decision. Now, in my first video covering the holiday comedy special by Porta dos Fundos, a Brazilian comedy group, a lot of people disliked my take. It was pretty surprising, actually. I don't know if it was necessarily my viewers or people that, you know, were following the controversy and were disliking anybody defending free speech. But essentially, here's the deal. Netflix had put out a show called The First Temptation of Christ, and it heavily implied that Jesus was gay, and based on where this is, it's a deeply religious nation. The community did not respond well. In fact, the comedy troupe's headquarters was allegedly hit with some Molotovs in response. And as of today, there's been a very big announcement around that show. Now, I want to be clear, because maybe I wasn't as clear in my first video, or maybe the meme was like a little too spicy or something and people got maybe read me wrong on it. I truly respect anyone's right to be as religious as they want in whatever religion they want, as long as they're not hurting other people. I respect humans who make those types of choices, okay? I'm not a very religious person myself. I never really was raised that way, but I was raised to accept everybody. And perhaps people thought that I was making fun of them because they were religious, or because, I don't know. But let me be very clear. I don't support canceling the show or removing it or suppressing any form of free speech ever. If you thought that I did, or that I would side with that, then you haven't been watching me very long. People should be able to portray their art, their craft in any way they see fit, as long as it isn't hurting anybody else or breaking the law or whatever. I mean, like literally hurting them, not like my feelings are hurt. So there's that. I am as close to a free speech absolutist as you can possibly be. That doesn't mean that I don't think criticisms of shows shouldn't happen. Heck, this whole channel is basically criticizing things that I don't like, but at no point did I say things shouldn't exist. And I don't believe that this show should be banned either, simply because it offends people. Now, as of yesterday, a judge has ordered the removal of this show from Netflix. As of last night, I could see some of my Brazilian viewers were sending me pictures saying it was still up, but I'm assuming things will be moving forward. A Brazilian judge, this is according to Daily Dot, has ordered that Netflix remove holiday satire, The First Temptation of Christ, after intense backlash and an act of arson. From the special from Brazilian comedy group Porta dos Fundos depicts Jesus as a gay man who comes home to visit a family with a friend after 40 days in the desert. After its release in December, a petition started circulating criticizing the film's depiction, including one from a Brazilian Catholic conservative organization. On Christmas Eve, the Porta dos Fundos studio in Rio de Janeiro was Molotoved. And when you look at the petition, it now sits at just under 2.4 million people who have signed in favor of banning the Christmas movie from Porta dos Fundos, which also called, I guess, Backdoor, which is titled The First Temptation of Christ, in favor of the removal from the film from the Netflix catalog, and for the Porta dos Fundos to be held responsible for the crime of villainous faith. This is crazy talk, all right? If you don't like it, don't watch it. And if you are so deeply offended, cancel your Netflix subscription, all right? But to demand the removal of something that offends your sensibilities is absurd. It is censorious. And just because a large chunk of maybe even my viewers would find themselves being religious doesn't make this okay. I would not support the removal of any show off Netflix other than, I guess, maybe if little kids were in it or something, something like that. But this is not a great day for free speech. This is bending the knee to an outrage mob simply because it was large enough to make enough noise. No one was hurt in the Molotoving, but days later, a video surfaced in which a man claimed that the attack was on behalf of Brazil's integralist movement. The ultranationalist movement started in the 1930s and inspired by Italy's fascist regime of the time. Judge Benedicto Abacar said the ruling is, quote, beneficial to the mostly Christian Brazilian society. Really? Seriously? First of all, nobody is forcing you to watch it. Second of all, this isn't like it's state-funded television. It's Netflix. Just cancel your subscription. I don't understand saying that this is okay. Imagine, by the way, and I know this video is going to get a bunch of dislikes, probably not from my normal viewers, but imagine if Netflix had bent the knee to remove a show depicting Muhammad in a way that is unsavory. What would we be saying? We would be saying this is ridiculous, free speech, you shouldn't be censoring. But for whatever reason, it seems that there's not a lot of people speaking out against this because it's Christian. And that's weird to me. You should be strongly against this if you are for free speech. He also stated that the right to freedom of expression, in this case at least, isn't absolute. Those are frightening words from a judge, all right? This is the same kind of stuff that happened to a good friend of mine. As you know, I do a podcast with a man that spent a lengthy time defending his right to make a joke featuring his dog, okay? Now we have a Brazilian judge saying, well, free speech, but. There is no free speech, but. It's either free speech or it isn't. Fabio Porchat, who plays Jesus' friend Orlando in the special, told Variety last month that they weren't trying to incite anyone. For some Catholics here in Brazil, it's okay if Jesus is a bad guy, uses drugs, and no problem. The problem is he's gay, so he can't be gay. And then, interesting, because Jesus is everything, God is black and white, gay and straight, God is everything. It's more phobic to be insulted by gay Jesus than to make Jesus special. That's actually a pretty good, I mean, that's a fair point. The idea that you aren't looking to incite people, I don't necessarily buy that. I'm sure when you made the show, you know how your country is, and you knew that there would be a big uproar about it. That said, that doesn't mean the show shouldn't exist. It doesn't mean a judge should be banishing free speech and silencing anybody to protect the delicate sensibilities of others. Whether Netflix actually removes the special will be dependent on a higher court, but it's not without precedent. Last year, it pulled an episode of, quote, The Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj that was critical of Saudi Arabia. Shocking. Looks like money still talks with Netflix. Netflix CEO Reed Hastings defended the decision, but inferred that the government is objected to that if a government objected to this type of content and wanted it removed, Netflix would not apply. Netflix has not commented on the ruling. Well, it'll be remained to be seen how a higher court may rule on this. But to have a judge use that type of language where you're saying, hey, free speech and all, but this is not, is a frightening statement to hear from somebody who's in charge of upholding the rights of others. Now, here in America, we have constitutionally protected rights around speech, as much as the blue-haired land whales of Twitter would like to pretend this is not exactly the case. And they also seem to say, well, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from consequence. Look, consequence is fine. Backlash is fine. If Netflix, if every person that signed this petition to remove the special, 2.4 million people, if 2.4 million people suddenly unsubscribed from Netflix, they'd probably react. All right. But whinging about it via petition and getting a judge to intervene and squash free speech in order to protect the sensibilities of the religion in his country is not a move that I support. It's not a move I will ever support. And if you are supporting it, this is a great time to challenge your own support of free speech. All right. Because I know a lot of Catholics and Christians follow me and very strong practicing, and that's cool. Like, I 100% accept that, but I don't accept censoring to protect your feelings. And if you are okay with this simply because, you know, of your faith, but you consider yourself a free speech advocate, it's time to challenge yourself a little bit. It's a lot easier, by the way, to be an absolutist with free speech. Come on over. Come on over to the anything goes side. Life is fun over here. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.